Good afternoon, everyone. We're excited to have you here during Black History Month. We're excited to have you here during a time where this president and this White House thinks that it is so important for young people to be involved in science and in math and in engineering and technology. And it is a really great thing. You guys should all be proud of yourselves that you guys are here today, that you guys are gonna be trying cool things and maybe slightly difficult things, and maybe taking yourself out of your norm for just a little bit. So you guys should be very excited. I'm a former science teacher, so I am so happy to have you guys here. I do not get to interact with kids on a daily basis, and children and kids and youth are, to me, a lot more fun than adults are sometimes. So I'm very happy to have you guys here. I am going to now introduce Joaquinia, who would like to welcome you guys as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Okay, we've been together all day, so I feel like we're family. Good afternoon, everyone. Very good. I am, as Kalisha mentioned, I am Joaquinia Clanton. I'm the National Executive Director of the National Organization of Black Elected Legislative Women, Nobel Women in short. I have the honor of serving these wonderful ladies seated right here on the front row, beginning with our illustrious National President, our Second Vice President, Treasurer, Parliamentarian, our National Director of Regional Coordinators, our Second Vice President, and our Chaplain are all here to be here with you all today. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to be here at the invitation of the President and the First Lady. We are extremely grateful to Ms. Stephanie Young and Ms. Kalisha DeSuze for inviting us here today. I hope you realize how much we take pride in investing in your futures, and I hope you take the full advantage of what we all have planned for you here today. Without further ado, I'm going to invite our National President, President Laura Hall of the great state of Alabama, to formally give you opening remarks.
Thank you, Joaquinia. Good afternoon. So, I heard some little rumblings a few minutes ago about, oh, this ain't the White House. I said, oh, yes, it is. Now, it may not be where the president is living. If that's where you thought you were going to see where the president lived, I haven't even had an opportunity to see that. But believe me, you are at the White House, and you are in you have an excellent opportunity by being here today. So I want you to know how much we appreciate you and your parents and your sponsors and the volunteers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So as was stated, I am the National President of Nobel Women. I want to first thank President Obama and First Lady Obama for this gracious invitation. And so before I begin talking about Nobel Women and the 3G program, please allow me to recognize the members of our Board of Directors. All members of Nobel, would you please stand? These ladies are responsible for you being here, so please give them a round of applause. We even have one of the charter members of Nobel who is seated in the back. That's Senator Diana Bajwar from Los Angeles, and thank you, Senator Bajwar. What did I say, Louisiana? Okay, all right. So we began Nobel Women Girls, Gigabytes, and Gadgets at the beginning of last year, and presently have trained more than 400 girls. This is an innovative series of workshops and discussions that are designed to expose young women and girls, particularly African American women and girls, from at-risk communities. The idea is to have them be engaged in careers about science, technology, engineering, arts, agriculture, mathematics, all of those things that's throughout the United States. The idea of Girls, Gigabytes, and Gadgets was created to magnify one powerful message. Women and girls aren't just to be users of technology, but creators, designers, influencers, and decision makers as well. And this type of innovation, we hope, will expose young girls to a variety of things. Today, you will have a variety of workshops ranging from app ideation, coding, DNA simulation, aerospace technology, molecular design, social media mastery, host of other activities. These are some of the activities that we held over last year, and you will experience some of those today. Collectively, participants are asked to take a social media safety and responsibility pledge, which will be offered to you a little later. So what I want to do at this time is to invite our Vice President, National Vice President, Senator Arthenia Joyner of Florida, to come to the podium to administer Nobel Women's Internet Safety and Responsibility Pledge. Senator Joyner.
Would all of the young ladies who are here today at our summit please stand? The internet is a space for knowledge, innovation, and discovery. It is known as a window to the world and can offer what seems like unlimited possibility and wonder, but it also must always be used with caution and great understanding. As a Nobel Women 3G girl, I, and please state your name, understand the proper function of the internet and pledge to use it responsibly. Furthermore, in partnership with Nobel Women, I agree to the following. Safe and responsible internet. And social media pledge. I will not engage in distracted driving. And I will explain. You will not engage in distracting activities while operating a motor vehicle. These activities include texting, taking pictures, applying makeup, and any other activities that may take attention from preserving the safety of others. Repeat after me. I will use the internet safely and responsibly. I will elaborate. You will not use the internet as a tool to impose harm on anyone else, to hurt someone else's feelings, or to make someone feel inferior. I will think critically, you will, about sites you frequent and how much information that you share with others. Now repeat after me. I will not engage in inappropriate behavior when using a mobile or smart device. I will explain to you what that means. You are not to use any of your devices to engage in inappropriate or otherwise compromising activities that may place you or others in harm's way. Repeat after me. I will always help others. That means that you will help your classmates, friends, and family members understand the use of technology and the internet and why it's important, so that knowledge is spread throughout your entire community and so that you can grow together. And finally, repeat after me. I will keep learning. This means that you will keep learning about technology and discover ways that it can improve your community, whether through responsible social media participation, app development, or digital innovation. Girls, young ladies, you have taken this pledge and we will hold you to it, for you are our future and you are the future of the world. Thank you.
So it is now my pleasure to introduce our panelists up here today. So we wanted to put in front of you some women who are leading the way within STEM fields throughout our government and also throughout the private sector, who can talk to you a little bit about their careers in STEM. And you guys have the opportunity to ask them any questions that you have. So I'd like to introduce first and foremostly our moderator, Miss Lonnie Love. You can sit right in the middle. Actress, comedian, and talk show host. I'd like to introduce one of my colleagues who I work very closely with on a lot of our STEM initiatives, Director Dot Harris from the U.S. Department of Energy. Hannah Clark from IT Computer Whiz Kids. Yolanda Seabrooks from Robertson Memorial Solar Scholars Fund. And LaShonda Holmes from NASA.
Driving. Y'all ain't driving yet, but some of y'all will be, so, you know. So let's get this started. How do we want to do this, Stephanie? Okay. Let's get started with everybody maybe giving a quick introduction to themselves again and the importance of STEM in their lives.
Can you hear me? All the way in the back, everyone? All right, my name's LaShonda Holmes. I'm a Coast Guard Search and Rescue and Air Intercept pilot by trade. I'm actually a White House Fellow this year. There's 16 of us. We're all placed at different places, different agencies in the federal government. And this year I'm placed at NASA working for the Director General Charles Bolden, who has been to space 4 times, 34 years in the Marine Corps. Amazing guy. I'm a graduate of Spelman College. I don't have a background in STEM, although my first 2 years I was a biochemistry major, and then I decided to become a psychology major. But again, being in aviation and flying kind of brought me back to the STEM field. So thank you for allowing me to be here.
All right. Let's stop.
I always have to start off with a quote, and it's one of my favorite quotes my team knows I love, and it's by Dr. Martin Luther King. And it says, intelligence plus character is a true goal of education. And that is why these amazing young ladies are here today. And so on the behalf of the Secretary of Energy, Dr. Ernest Moniz, I bring you greetings from the U.S. Department of Energy. My name's Dot Harris. I'm the Director of the Office of Economic Impact and Diversity. Have been in the administration. I was nominated by the President in 2012. I was confirmed by the United States Senate. And I've been in the department for that time. And my office focuses very closely on minorities and underrepresented communities and women. We focus very heavily on minorities when it comes to education, businesses, community outreach. I'm also head of the diversity and inclusion for the agency, civil rights for the agency, as well as EEO. So I wear a couple of hats. I'm actually an engineer, electrical engineer. Matter of fact, Lonnie and I have something in common. We both are electrical engineers. Yeah. And we also have something else in common. We both are members of the sorority Delta Sigma. So, see,
There you go, them AKAs.
AKAs, rolling down. But I've had the pleasure of working, you know, first of all, it's an honor to be in this administration as part of the Obama administration, but I have had the pleasure of working in the private sector. So I've been an engineer working for Fortune 500 companies, Westinghouse, ABB, General Electric. I've also been a corporate officer. I've been out, actually have owned my own company, and then now working for government. So I've had the pleasure of both being in the public and private sector and understanding how that fits, but more importantly, understand what I need to do and what we should do in promoting and supporting amazing young women like yourselves. Thank you.
And you look good in purple too, girl. That look good.
Hi, my name is Hannah M. Clark. I'm a junior computer science major at Howard University, and my STEM background is actually more fine arts based, and that's one of the things I love about STEM is that it has an application in just about every field, and interdisciplinaryism is something that you can apply to your interest. I'm also the co-founder of a startup called Swipe Shark, and I founded a makers organization on campus called the Shaw Renaissance Club.
All right.
Hi, my name is Yolanda Seabrooks. I am the program director with an organization called the Solar Foundation that's based here in Washington, D.C. And I lead a project called the Brian Robertson Memorial Solar Schools Fund. We put solar on schools around the country. We focus on solar for education for students for K through 12 schools. My background prior to being on the nonprofit side of things is that I was with on a commercial solar company for about 10 years. I happened to fall back into STEM fields, having been an English major, an American Studies major in college, but came back to an industry that I came to love and became very interested in because of the science background I had prior to college. So I'm really happy to see all of you, and I can't wait to hear all of your questions.
All right. So get your questions ready, but I'll start off with the first question, and anyone can just jump in, and let's just have a conversation, and that includes you guys. So if you feel something, please, get your questions ready. What is the best advice you can give to these young ladies in getting into the field of STEM? Any advice?
Well, I would say, first of all, strive to be excellent at what you do. When you take all the difficult courses in high school and elementary school and middle school, and you allow yourself to have options, because that was my story. I was planning on being an English teacher through school, and I have a lot of siblings that are teachers and principals, and I wanted to be like my sisters and brothers. And I took this trip, and I was introduced to engineering, but fortunately I had taken all the math and chemistry and physics and all. So for all of you, take the tough courses so you can have that option if you wish to be an engineer.
All right, thank you.
I definitely kind of echo what she was saying. Is just try it. I meet a lot of freshmen. I don't know.
Yes, I know.
I meet a lot of freshmen who say, "Oh, I've been thinking about computer science," or "I always like computers," and the first thing I say to them is, "Well, just take Intro to Computer Science. It'll count toward whatever degree you take." But also, if you're able to do something in high school, like I was able to do IT Computer Whiz Kids, you can know before you even get to college, hey, this is something I like. So.
All right.
I'd like to echo kind of the same. When I made a decision to go to flight, I never looked at a plane or a helicopter. I fly helicopters. I never looked at an aircraft and thought I could fly anything. It never even crossed my mind. And so I joined the Coast Guard when I was in college. And after I graduated, I had some time before becoming an officer. And I was on a boat. I loved being on. We were underway for about 3 months, and someone came and stopped and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about flying?" I'm like, "No, don't you have to be really smart to do that, or go to the academy, or have a technical background?" He's like, "No, I've seen you working hard." And so fast forward, I get to flight school. I'm the only black person in my class. I think there's 2 females in there, but I'm the only black one. And they're talking about Newton's law and Bernoulli's principle and viscosity of fluid and all this stuff that's like, what? And I'm sitting in class with a straight face trying to, not let on to my other counterparts that I had no clue, honestly. I had no clue what they were talking about. But what I did know is that I wanted it bad enough, and that I knew I deserved to be there, or they wouldn't have allowed me to get that far. So I would go home at night and get on YouTube and look up watching people work out equations, explaining, why it made sense until I got it. And that's kind of how I got myself through flight school. So my advice is, like she said, just try it. You never really know how smart you are. So don't tell yourself, I can't do it, this is too hard. Everything that's worth anything is a little tough in the beginning, but look at where you could be on the other side of it if you just stay focused and consistent and keep with it. So.
Yep. Yolanda?
And I would say find something you can be really interested in and really passionate about. Because I think every lady up here has gotten to where they are through a lot of hard work. And that means some sleepless nights and sacrifices that you have to make. But find something that you really love so that it's not hard to stay up late to do it. And whatever that is. And you may see a career that you say, oh, I heard about this career, but I kind of want to do it differently, but I've never seen anyone do it. Do it anyway. Make what you want, create the career that you want. There aren't any rules anymore that if you want to do a certain career, you have to go down a certain path. Create what you want. If you want to be a teacher and you want to write books and you want to fly planes, you can do it all. All you have to do is, if that's what you love to do, figure it out. Like the other panelist was saying, go on YouTube, the internet. All of you, I'm sure, know how to find anything on YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. There's a video for everything, even how to make a doll, poop out pie if you want, right? Right? There's a video. I have a 7-year-old, so I know because she watched it the other day. But go out, find the resources. There's information everywhere. Just find it out for yourself, and you can create the future you want for yourself.
And don't let money distract you, because a lot of people think, oh, I can't find the money. I grew up in the Brewster Projects. I had no money, and I went and I got a job at General Motors right after I graduated high school. And I had 1 semester's worth of money. And I found me a school, Prairie View A&M University, that graduated the most black engineers. Because at first I tried to go to a predominantly white college, and that didn't work out for me. It just didn't. I had to find some place that fit me, and that's another thing. Find you a college that'll fit you. I had that 1 semester's worth of money, and I remember going down there, and I was telling my counselor, I want to be an engineer. And he tried to tell me, y'all, oh, that's a lot of math and science. I said, I don't care if it's a lot of math and science. Give me my classes. And so that was the first time that I really applied myself, and I ended up getting all A's and 1 B. But then the end of the semester came, and I realized I don't have no money. This same counselor that was questioning me called me into the office right before the semester was about to end. He said, I looked at your grades, and I applied you for a scholarship, and you got the scholarship, and it paid for the rest of my college career. So believe me, it's ways to get money out there. Don't let that hold you back, seriously. So we just did, for the show 2 weeks ago, we interviewed the First Lady of the United States. She has her new initiative called Better Make Room. And it's really an initiative for you guys to go to college. There's funds out there that's free. And, work with your parents to make sure that you guys fill out your FAFSA form and get the money if you need the money. And there's also scholarships. And for all you ladies that's in junior high school and things, start working on that now so that when you do graduate, there are funds available. So with that said, now you have a wealth of experience up here. You can ask any questions that you want, and this is your opportunity. So you can't say we didn't give you an opportunity. So who has the first question? Yes, ma'am, stand up. Tell us your name. Hey.
So I got a question for you. Well, I want to know, how did you change your career? Like, you say you was had all A's and everything, and you wanted to be an engineer. So how did you get into TV and stuff?
Well, the reason why I did take engineering, and Ms. Dot knows this, with engineering, it teaches you how to problem solve. And if you want to go any direction with electrical engineering especially, you can go. So I thought that I actually wanted to become an attorney. So I got my engineering degree based on the fact that, wherever direction, because I didn't really know where I wanted to go, at least I had an engineering degree. But I was also broke in college that first semester. And so what I did to make extra money, one day I was at, this contest. They had a contest at our little local hangout, and they said, we'll give $50 for the person that has the best story. And I needed the money because I needed to buy an English book. And so I just made up a story. I don't know what the story was about, but I won that $50. You'll be surprised what you do when you need some money. But that introduced me to stand-up. So I ended up getting my degree But at the time, it was like Def Comedy Jam, and I didn't want to do that type of comedy. So I said, I'm going to have a backup, and I'm going to get my degree. Because, you know, Black Mama's like, no, you stay in college. And so I got my degree. I got a job in Los Angeles, and I was an engineer for Xerox for 8 years. And then during that time, I decided to make my transition, and I became a comic at night, and I was an engineer during the day. And then eventually, you know, I was able to transition when we had a layoff. I went to my boss and I said, you know, save a job and lay me off, and I'll try comedy. But the reason why I was able to try is because I had backup as an engineer. You're welcome. Questions? Yes? Oh. You just got a lot of hair. You just putting your hair out. Okay, well, go ahead.
I would just like to kind of piggyback off of her life story basically and say, you don't have to do one thing in life. You can major in something technical and love something creative. Because she was able to choose, hey, I'm gonna let go of this job, but she had a job to let go of, versus, you know, being desperate for something. So that's always something I think is so important to remember.
And because I had the money, you know, I was able to pursue my other career. But see, there are a lot of people that want to do creative things and they don't have the money to, like, because it's expensive to stay in Los Angeles. So, you know, if a lot of my friends who started out as comedians, they're not, you know, you've never heard of them because they had to leave because they didn't have jobs. They didn't have the money to support their second career. But you can always change.
And I just, from a career standpoint, listen, I mean, when you guys come out of high school, you come out of college as an engineer, and engineering is still the highest paying career path you can take right out of college. It still is. And I had the pleasure, when having worked during the summer as an intern at one of our national labs, and I had the pleasure of having 13 job offers when I got out of college. So it made it really fun determining which job I wanted to
You had
take.
more than me. I had 7. What? You just had to outdo me.
13. So it was fun coming out with that. And then when you, and what it also positioned me on my first job. I was a field engineer with Westinghouse Electric in the nuclear industry. A lot of women, period. So you had a lot of visibility when you go out on these jobs. And that's the other thing. You would probably want to take some risk in determining what you ladies want to do. I mean, don't be conservative and just take a risk and take a chance, because it could pay off in the long run. And the other thing I wanted to mention is just be who you are. Remember to bring who you are to your jobs. Don't go to try to be like someone else, because your bosses in the industry now want that beautiful individual exactly who you are. So bring that, and that's the diversity of the workforce that they're looking for now. So don't just be, you bring your smarts, you bring that intelligence plus character, like I mentioned, and when you bring that, it's gonna be on for the teachers and for the industry you go into.
I have a question. How do you ladies handle being a Black female in your fields? Have you experienced discrimination? How do you handle it? There's some advice to give to the young ladies.
It's tough, and I think I don't want to say, you know, you should expect it, but I think if you go into whatever your career or whatever kind of environment, just kind of keep that in the back of your mind that you could be discriminated against. It could be because you're Black, because you're female, because you're cute, whatever the case may be, it happens.
I had that all the time.
Right? So you just have to really have a good support system and good mentors in your life who. So if, for example, if something happens and you feel like you're discriminated against, maybe take a step back in that moment. Don't really respond right then, and then you go and you strategize with your support system, your mentors, your team, and then you come back the next day like, this is how I'm going to handle it, without being overly emotional about it, and you can still be professional. But things like that happen. It sucks. It shouldn't. But, you know, that's kind of the world that we live in. And if you kind of keep that in the back of your mind, I think you'll always be ready to respond in an appropriate way.
Anybody else?
I guess we'll go around the table. For me, listen, I was in the nuclear industry, and all of you know there aren't many women, period, whether Black, white, or whatever. And if you bring your confidence with it, and listen, I'm from the South. I'm a girl raised in the South, and down there we say hello to everybody, so no one's a stranger to me. So And it's almost when you work with different people, you have to make them as comfortable. Maybe you shouldn't have to, but you typically have to. So when people do work with people they know they're comfortable with. So if you relaxed and cool-minded and rolling with it, you can ward off a lot of that wall of defense of people not being comfortable around you. But yes, you could have the discrimination, you could have having to prove yourself, and that's what I dealt with a lot in the industry. And one quick story, I was heading onto a project, and I was they assumed I was a guy. My maiden name was Guess, and they said, and in the nuclear industry, power plants go down, they lose millions of dollars a day. So they literally put us on corporate jets to get to places. We can't wait for the regular airlines. So they said, Mr. Guest is on the plane, Mr. Guest is coming to the site, and then I show up, and they said, and I open up the door in this war room with all these white males, and they said, you here until Mr. Guest shows up, and I looked like someone's teenager back then, and I gave him a big smile and said, you looking at him, and it was that whole reaction, and get on the phone, I know you didn't send this little girl here to start up my power plant, and and it was those kind of situations, but I proved myself, and end up being the youngest manager in the history of that Westinghouse division because of the risk and the things that I did.
Good question. Thank you. What influenced you to become what you are today?
That side of the room.
Don't get quiet,
It's a
Yolanda.
hard question, right?
Get some action over there.
That was a good question. I think it's a number of things. Definitely my mom growing up. I was raised in a single-parent home. I'm the oldest of 3 girls, and so I was raised to know you have no choice but to be successful because you have 2 little sisters that are looking at you. Anybody your older sister? Do you hear that? You know your little sisters are looking at you. You have to be great because they're going to be behind you. They're looking at everything you're doing, and if you do wrong, they're going to want to do wrong. So I definitely took that seriously because I love my sisters and I wanted them to be successful. And so I knew I had to do well with everything I did. And also because I had a mom that sacrificed for me. I saw my mom work really hard, work long hours, come home late at night, leave early in the morning. And so I knew that everything I did, when I was in high school, my goal was to get a scholarship to college because I knew that I wasn't going to school or it was going to be really hard if I didn't get the scholarship, and I didn't want to make it hard on my mom. And so I just knew, I said, no, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just knew I had to get really good grades and do a lot of stuff, play sports, do everything I could so that I could get a scholarship to college so my mom didn't have to worry about it. And so that was the proudest day of my life when I came down to here to school, to the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and I had a full ride to school, and my mom didn't have to worry about me. And all she had to do was send me food every once in a while. So.
All right. Hannah.
I would definitely have to say my parents to a great extent, and then also being encouraged to think very critically about what I want to do as an adult. And when I say think about what I want to do, I don't mean like a lot of times adults will say to kids, they'll be like, hey, what do you want to do? You want to be a doctor? You want to be a lawyer? And it's just like, well, maybe that doesn't fit who I am as a person. And you can't allow that pressure to make you only consider certain options for yourself. And so for a year, I thought I wanted to be an architecture major. And then I was able to have experiences with programming, with IT, computer whiz kids, taking apart computers, and I was able to say, hey, this is something I'm curious about. This is something I'm interested in. And then I learned all the applications of computer science. But I think one of the most important things is just to explore what you're interested in and to be honest with yourself, because you don't want to get into a situation where you're pursuing something and then you don't know why you're pursuing it. So you have to be honest, and you can't allow your relatives or somebody else to say, oh, I think this is a good field for you, because it's really about where your passion is and where you're willing to work the most hard. So,
What are some of your passions out there? You had a question? Yes. What's your passion, sweetie? Yeah. Do you have a passion?
zoology? That's really cool.
What's some other ones? Architect. That's
Sure.
you. Okay. What else? Yes, ma'am. Art. All right. Yes.
Oh, I had a question.
Okay.
My name is Leslie. I'm a senior in high school, and I finally found what I really want to do, which is I want to pursue a major in English. But I haven't really found, like, I don't really know, like, where I want to go, because I've heard so many stories about how college was hard, how college was easy, and I haven't decided if I want to go away or stay home. So for right now, I'm going to decide to stay home for college. But what advice would you give someone who's still trying to figure out where they want to go and who's in college and they're struggling?
I can relate to you because I thought I knew what I wanted to do when I went to school, and then I got there and took the class, and I was like, I hate this, and I never want to do it again. I thought I wanted to be a political science major, and then so that didn't work out, and then so I was like, well, maybe I'll be a history major, and then I took my first history class, and I hated that too, and then so I just didn't know. So I would just say, the purpose of college, the point of a degree is really to teach you how to think and how to learn, more so than anything, not just the subject matter. And English is great because there's so many things you can do with it. So you don't have to know right now, and that's okay. Just go to school, take the classes, and as someone else said before, if you see something that interests you, try it out. Take a class in anything, astrophysics or anything, because you may take that and then figure out, oh, this is something I'm interested in. I actually wound up finding my major because I went to a lecture. One of the professors was talking about a practice called blockbusting that happened in the 50s and 60s, where real estate agents would basically make people think that black people ruin the neighborhood. You might have heard that, right? And they would sell, it's a whole complicated thing. But anyway, I went to the lecture, and it was really interesting. And the professor said, I'm an American Studies professor, and this is what I teach. And I thought, you mean I could study this? Like this part of history? I've never heard of this before. I thought this was history. And that's how I found my major. So it's just about staying in school to learn how to think. Every major is going to teach you how to think, how to write critically, how to think critically. And it's just about getting the degree. And then there's so many jobs that they just require a degree. It doesn't matter what the degree is in. So just get the degree. And then you have time. You can figure out whether you want to specialize and go to graduate school and go for a different discipline. But I know so many people. I have friends who went to school as English majors and then decided to go to medical school. Or I have friends that went to medical school, decided they thought they wanted to be doctors, went to school, got a science degree, and then decided to go to law school. So there are no rules. Just stay in school and try all the things that everyone has said. Just try until you find something. But keep doing well with the things that you're doing in the meantime.
Well, I guess we, at the Department of Energy, we actually have a way to help you with this for the girls, since we're talking about STEM today. I have with a couple of my colleagues here, Trina Bala, as well as Amanda Kionis with the department. And we're having this amazing book that we're coming out, the first of its kind. It will be focusing on for hopefully having every middle school in the country. And what it is we'll be showcasing women in STEM, every ethnic background, every age group possibly. And what it is, it has probably 500 profiles of women in every area possible, astrophysicists, microbiologists, and these are real women that are at the Department of Energy that we will use to help support and get young girls like yourself interested in seeing women that look like you. And they look like everything from runway models, and they may have a PhD in microbiology and doing work out in the renewable energy space. So this book will be out at the Secretary of Energy, and everyone else is waiting for it to come out. Matter of fact, the Academy of Sciences heard about my book and asked us to possibly use some of the characters for some blockbuster movies coming up. You've heard the movie Thor, where it was based on an astrophysicist. And so it's a book that we will get out, and it's going to be lesson plans for teachers. It'll be interactions for kids, for the students, and it's something, it has avatars, which will also be featured with this release. So it's something that we will have available here throughout the country, I would hope in the next few months. So.
Right.
I
just wanted to add one thing to your question about school. Like I said earlier, my first 2 years, I was a biochemistry major because I thought I wanted to be an anesthesiologist. So I had gone through foster care, and I had gone through just a tough patch before I got to college. And so I just kind of had a conversation with myself, like, would I want to be a doctor, a lawyer? I guess I'll be a doctor. So I was like, okay, I'll be a doctor. I'm going to be a biochem major. And then I got to Spelman, and into my sophomore year, I'm like, I don't even know if I like science. Nothing against, I know this is a STEM thing, but, I was like, am I really passionate about it? Like, I was making good grades, but I felt like I was just doing it just to do it. I didn't really feel like my heart was there. So I changed my major to psychology because I wanted to open my own group homes, and I wanted to become a doctor and kind of counsel. And so, like she said, it's okay to make those changes. You're young. You have forever to figure it out. Do put some thought into, make it a thoughtful one initially, but know that those things can change and that that's okay. As long as you're open to different opportunities, as long as you apply yourself and you study, you educate yourself, you do all those things you should do, there'll be windows and doors of other opportunities that'll open that you could take advantage of. So this is just the beginning. Kick butt, with, you said English, right? You're gonna love it. And then if not, it's okay. You'll love the next thing, so.
So I gotta throw something in there, because I just encounter so many college students who are freshmen, and I mentor a lot of people coming into Howard, is first of all, being practical. I think you're called to go to the place where you get the most scholarship money, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that is the sign of where you should go. Second of all, a year or so ago, some people from Howard University, we went to the Washington Post, right? There were people from the computer science department and people from the English department. And that was only about a month after the CEO and founder of Amazon bought the Washington Post, Jeff Bezos, right? And so what did the people at the Washington Post tell us? They said, we need people who can translate technology to the news format, because we have to hit that sweet spot to make sure that we keep our readership up, because people aren't buying the paper, but people need to consume our content, and everybody has an iPad, an iPhone, or a computer. And you know what they said to the computer science majors? They said, if you want to work for us, not only will we hire you immediately, but we will send you to journalism school for free. And you can come back and work for us and have a guaranteed position. So just to put that out there, there's so many niche areas that are available that apply to any field. So don't fit yourself into STEM, fit STEM into what you already are.
Oh, that's the saying right there. Don't fit into STEM. Let STEM fit. Okay. Yes, baby.
Going to an HBCU and a PWI, and I just wanted, since we have both on the panel, I just wanted to know what how your experiences at that specific college has impacted your life now.
Okay, everybody looks at me. Okay, so this is what I say. Okay, nothing is perfect, and you cannot have it both ways.
Right.
So you have to decide what is more important to you. You have to decide what you're going to college for, because what degree you want will significantly influence what college you go to. So if you're trying to study neuroscience, that's gonna put a lot of HBCUs out of consideration for you, just off the bat. So you have to be honest about that. And then you also have to consider what area you want to live in. So I think it's more of an individual thing. I would always recommend an HBCU, because I love my HBCU. And almost everybody I know, I'm just like, just consider it. Just send in one application, just try it. And they're just like, I don't know. But then again, I realize it's not for everybody. So you got to decide what's most important to you, and just visit an HBCU once. You know what I mean? Just think about it. It's just something about the environment of an HBCU.
Yeah,
it can't be imitated at all.
I definitely second that. If you don't know, Spelman's an all-black women's college in Atlanta. I love Atlanta. I love Spelman. There's just something magical about that place. We're right across the street from Morehouse, which is all black men. And then right across the street is Clark, which is co-ed. I mean, it's just amazing. I would, and I'm still paying off some of my student loans. Let's just put that in there. So definitely, because I could have gone to school for free in North Carolina, but I'm like, I want to get out of I just had a lot going on, and I'm still happy about the decision that I made. But I'm a big supporter of HBCUs. Definitely go visit the campus. It may not be for you, especially if it doesn't really fit the major that you're kind of wanting to pursue. I wouldn't suggest it, but otherwise, I definitely say go to an HBCU.
I guess for me, when I was studying electrical engineering, I'm from South Carolina, and a lot of my siblings had gone to an HBCU, and I wanted to, but they didn't have a four-year degree engineering school, so I was really forced to go to the University of South Carolina to get my degree. But my son's a Morehouse graduate, and you know I have my kids are, listen, it depends. The beauty about HBCUs is that when I use that term again, intelligence plus character, these HBCUs help build your character, your culture, and your character in these schools, and it's an amazing difference when you go into. Matter of fact, a lot of the students going to the HBCUs are the ones that feed in and are more successful when they go to the majority schools for advanced degrees, for example. Yeah. So that's well known, but you just gotta, check off some of the things that we mentioned.
We have a question, right, young lady?
I want to be a major in arts, and I was wondering what college I can apply to when I ready to apply to a college.
You're interested in arts?
A liberal arts school.
Yeah, liberal arts school. Like, if you Google different liberal arts schools, you can find a list. And then, like the lady said, it's really important to, go on college tours. And I think that would really help you, where you can actually get a feel of the campus and get a feel of the curriculums and ask your questions before you make your decision.
Or if you have any, oh, sorry.
Yeah, a lot of the HBCUs are liberal arts schools. So.
Or if you have any mentors, or if your parents know anyone who's kind of into the arts, or if you know anyone who's doing kind of what you're doing, maybe you could kind of pick their brain about what schools they went to, why, and what advice they'd have for you.
And if you don't know anyone, maybe if there's an artist that you like, whether you're painting or whatever type of art you like, look at what's out there, and if there's someone whose art you really like, find out where they went to school.
Mm-hmm. Right there.
Was it hard for you to work while you were in school?
Was it hard to work while you were in school? I did a little bit of everything because I just needed the money. I was in marching band. I was the flag girl. I was working in the cafeteria. I was like a, Jamaican. I had 15 jobs in college, so.
Come on.
I worked, I did work study, and I worked at 9 West, and then I joined the Coast Guard, so I was doing some of that work. And it's not hard. I didn't have a ton of a social life at times, but that was just part of what I was willing to give up. So
I think that keeps you focused, too. Mm-hmm. When you're working like that and then you have your studies, it really keeps you focused. So don't be afraid of work.
And I'm like Lonnie, I did everything in school. I worked anywhere, anybody that would give me a job, because even though I had a scholarship, I really liked to eat, and so I needed pizza money. Yeah. And so I worked to make sure that I didn't have to eat in the cafeteria when I didn't want to.
Exactly.
Because college food may not be that great.
I guess I worked as an intern during the summer at the Savannah River Laboratory, so they paid us outrageous monies during the summer that kind of was able to cover me through the school.
You ain't got to brag, Dot Harris.
Well, everybody has a different, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, sweetie. Did you like being in the Coast Guard?
Yeah, I'm actually still in the Coast Guard. This summer will be 11 years. I'm just not flying this year because I have the fellowship. But I joined the Coast Guard because they offered me a full scholarship. The Coast Guard has a great scholarship program. Plug. So I joined, and at the time, Spelman was about $29,000 a year. So for someone to pick up the full bill and pay me a salary, I got paid on the 1st and the 15th as a full-time working person, and I only worked 5 hours a month. It just completely made sense to me. So in my mind, I thought I could join the military, join the Coast Guard, which was the furthest thing from my mind at the time, but join, do my 3-year obligation, get out, go to grad school, and go on with my life. But the Coast Guard has offered me some amazing opportunities. They sent me to flight school to learn how to fly airplanes first and helicopters. I flew out of LA for a few. LA is amazing. It's expensive, but amazing. And then been flying out of Atlantic City and here in DC, and now have the opportunity to do the fellowship. So I've got nothing but great things to say about the Coast Guard.
Mm-hmm. Right. Wait, I think you were first.
Good afternoon.
My name is Courtney Perham. I am the NAP Engineering Academy Director at Dunbar High School.
All right. Say it one more time. That was a lot.
The NAP, National Academies Foundation Engineering Academy Director.
All right.
So I have about 114 students in the academy. And one of our issues, of course, is the interest in the academy. So we're just trying to bridge that gap between middle and high school students, especially girls. We only have about 30 girls of that 113 in the academy. But I think one of our bigger issues is engaging the parents to support the students. So what advice do you have to provide, I guess, information and to receive engagement for parents to motivate their young ladies to stay in the STEM field?
Dot, you can answer that.
Yes, yes, I can. I think my office support Dunbar. We actually support your school. We have a lot of literature that we have, the Department of Energy, we have grants, we have funds, we have, matter of fact, we have the National Science Bowl that's coming up for middle schools and high schools here in the DC. It's a national bowl, but we have literature for you. We have support and some funding, yeah, so give us a buzz. See those two ladies right over there?
We got to get girls to go to Mars. I mean, NASA's on a journey to Mars. We need mission specialists, geologists, mathematicians, aviators. You know, we're going to be sending humans to Mars from U.S. soil in the 2030s, and it's going to be the women that are your age that are going to be doing those missions. So all the more reason why we need you guys in STEM careers.
Okay, we have about 5 minutes left, so real quick, you.
Well, my mom was in the Air Force, my dad's a Marine, my little sister's in the Navy, and so I've been able to, well, she joined the Navy because she said their uniforms are cuter than the Coast Guard, and so she's regretting that now because she's been on a boat for about 9 months, and I told her she's not gonna like it.
Is that boat cute?
It ain't cute. It ain't cute. So I wanted to join the Coast Guard because I remember when I was young, my mom, she'd get deployed she went to Desert Storm and a couple other places, and I'd have to stay with the grandparents, and I didn't know when I was going to have a family. I didn't really want to deploy. I knew I didn't want to be a Marine. Some people are into that, but I don't want to get shot at. And so the Coast Guard, we're pretty much police of all the water. So if somebody is trying to smuggle drugs or migrants in, we're the ones that go out there. Hurricane Katrina type disasters, we rescue folks out there. We've done rescues off of cruise ships, women going into labor or just having a stroke on a boat or something. We do, like if there's big oil spills and everything, the aviation side, we kind of do some recon stuff. So the missions of the Coast Guard really excited me, and I knew that I could stay close. Like my dream sheet coming out of the fellowship is Miami, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, Savannah, Houston. I was in LA. Like, it's pretty cool, stations to be at because we're on the coast and protecting, domestically around the coast. So those are some of the reasons why I chose the Coast Guard.
Real quick, yeah.
What type of what is your question specifically about Howard? I would just say their science program is really good. There are a lot of research opportunities at Howard University. It's pretty nice because we're not a big college, but we're not a small college, so you can kind of fit in where you're comfortable. There are research programs that kind of dip a little bit into engineering, and there's a nanotechnology lab in the engineering building, but there's also purely science research opportunities, and also we're directly connected with the Howard University Med School as well. So I don't know if you're interested in med school or not, but I definitely recommend it.
Mm-hmm. Real quick, we got these three and that's it. Okay, I'm sorry. I told y'all was gonna have questions. Real quick, sweetie.
How did you manage your time in college? It's really easy to get caught up and not really focus on this.
How did you manage your time in college? One person.
Not a lot of sleep.
She said not a lot of sleep.
You have to sacrifice sleep sometimes to get your work done because it is a lot. You're juggling courses, and you do have to make sacrifices sometimes. So you may not be able to do all the social things you want, but you have to remember why you're there. And your goal is to be successful, to get a degree. And you stay focused on that. And if you have to do energy drinks or whatever, but you have to just sometimes you can't. There's just too much to do in a day to get all the 8 hours of sleep you want every night.
Sweetie with the glasses.
How do you, like when school gets harder, how do you keep like your grades up? Because I heard you can get a scholarship, you have good grades, and I want to get into a good school, so how do you like, keep your grades up?
You have to respect how you study. Everybody studies differently. I have friends that I know, they don't hardly have to study, they'll get A's. Me, I spend all day in the library. I have to take notes. I have to Google things, and that's what it takes for me to get an A. So I have to respect that for me, I need that time in the library, and I can't try to act like my friend acts, because everybody learns differently. And in a history class, it's very easy. When I take physics, I gotta go to the physics lab, I gotta go get tutoring. It's not gonna come immediately for me. So you have to realize what it takes for you and just put that time in there. And don't get discouraged, because it will pay off and you'll catch up to the people who you think are always ahead of you.
Let me give you one technical fact. Women's IQ is at least 2 or 3 points higher than that of a male, so just push it and you get it.
Okay. They're gonna let me get in these last two. Okay, you in the purple.
I know I still have a lot of time to think about what I want to do, but one of my passions, I think, is teaching.
That was your comment? All right, girl. Good. All right, sweetie, you the last one.
Okay, so I just wanted to know what exactly was your big, influence on you guys for your big break? So, I know everyone has some type of big impact where they're thinking, oh, this is what I really want to do, or this is exactly what I want to be, for the rest of my life. So I want to know, what exactly impacted you all on your career?
Ladies, quickly.
Real quick, so I got off the boat after the conversation about have I ever thought about aviation? I said no. So we pulled into Seattle. I heard that there was one black female pilot in the Coast Guard who lived in Clearwater, Florida. I flew out to meet her. I kind of stalked her online. She said I could come meet her. And I met her, and from then I knew that I could pursue flying. She was cool, another black woman, cool. We went out dancing. She's from Jamaica. She took me to her parents' house. They cooked, just being around someone that, in my mind, they were like, oh, so smart and doing something that I could never do, like this big, intimidating thing. And it completely wasn't that. She was normal. Her and I are the best of friends now. She lives here in D.C. She's awesome. And so just seeing her, and after going up flying with her, I knew that I could do it too.
My 10th grade chemistry teacher influenced me.
Right.
After being able to participate in a program in high school called IT Computer Whiz Kids, after learning how to program, and then researching computer science, I really value flexibility, and that was what really made one of the biggest impressions on me, aside from enjoying technology.
I would say I've never had one moment that told me what I wanted to do, but I've always known that I'm someone who just wants to try everything. And so what's nice is that we don't live in a world where you have to, whatever you do out of college, you have to do for the rest of your life. So I started out being a corporate trainer, and that didn't work, and so I tried something else, and I was like, that didn't work so well either, and I tried something else, and I got in solar, and now I love it. So you can do any number of things and have any number of careers that you want.
That was excellent. Give these ladies a hand clap. Woo!